Ladies and gentlemen, I don't have a bell. I don't know, but we're going to start a few minutes earlier. Are you going to ring it for me there? Thank you. Perfect. You know what? I should have come to you, Michael. Okay. Anyway, welcome. What do I do with my glasses? Anyway, welcome everyone. We're starting a few minutes early because we have a very full program with a very exciting things to learn about today. So if I could all please ask you to rise. And Lance, would you please lead us in the pledge? Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And it's so nice to see you, Lance. We miss you. Okay, songsters, and where's our little dancer? Come on up here with us. We're going to sing and dance.
Yeah. Okay. The intro is here. You can have that. I think this will be good. That's right. Okay. All right, folks. Yeah. Well, since our guest speaker is going to talk about the planets and the celestial bodies, I think we'll sing a song called "Fly Me to the Moon." Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, fly me to the moon, let me sing among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, baby, fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you. Stop. Nice morning.
Oh, eat your heart out, morning club. Okay.
Okay, me and my little doo-wop partner, I think we're going to take our show on the road. Okay, here you go. Okay, so we have a thought for the day from Mr. Jay Davis.
So I got caught with my mouth full. Nicely done. Nicely done. It's all right. It's the new year. With the new year comes the opportunity to reorganize things in our lives. And those of us of a certain age, and many of you are of that certain age, go through the process of, better? Go through the process of looking at our investments, looking at our retirements, dragging out our trust to see if it's okay, and the will, and tidying things up. And my two principals in this story are Mike and Amy, a couple of a certain age. And Mike is very happy because he's done all these things. and he's sitting in his study with a glass with ice cubes in it and a refreshing brown liquid going around, feeling very relaxed because he's done everything. And Amy comes motoring into the room and says, "We have to have a conversation." Mike's immediately alarmed. That means she has bought one of those books you see at the checkout counter at the grocery store, the sort of woman's magazine that has a fantastically dressed, a beautiful 65-year-old on the cover, and articles like 63% of all husbands cheat and how to housebreak your spouse. So he's getting nervous. And she says, we have to have this conversation. And it's uncomfortable turf, but we're going to have it anyway. Now he's really getting uncomfortable. And she says, well, I want to talk about what happens when one of us dies. Now you must understand, men all assume they'll die first. This is not a problem. Our plan is to die first. It's that simple. So he's already uncomfortable and the glass is going around faster. But she's read her magazine carefully, so she speaks only the subjunctive rather than asking, if I die and when you remarry. She says, were I to die and were you to remarry? All right, you got that. This is nice. She's read the magazine well. And she said, I only have 3 questions. And the first is, were I to die, were you to remarry, would you let your new wife sleep in our bed? And Mike says, well, it's hypothetical and I've not thought about it, but if we were married, I guess we would just have to, but I'm uncomfortable with it. Goes on. And she says, all right, I have 2 more questions. The next question is, would you give your new wife my jewelry? But he feels better about this one. He says, oh, no. I would ask our 2 daughters to look at all your jewelry and take whatever they wanted of that and take the rest for their daughters and maybe have Lance remount some of it for us. Technical solution. He's very happy. But he's wishing he hadn't put the bottle back in the cap. And finally, she comes to the last question and she says, well, this is close and it's important. She said, were you to die and were you to remarry, would you give her my golf clubs? And he says, oh no, she's left-handed.
Jay, very well done. Oh, that's so good. Okay, our lineup today. And we have for our Spur reporter who came in a pinch, Matt Fuzzi. Thank you, Matt. Woo-woo! Spur publisher and our web mistress, Kathy Coyle. Thank you, Kathy. Photographer that's getting our best side always. Wait a minute. Oh, no. Don Wentz. Thank you, Don, so much. Woo-woo! And Joel, you do triple duty. And once again, I want to thank you so much. Joel is our AV, part of our AV team today. And Jeff Youngsma does an amazing job. He's our Zoom host, but I think I see him. There he is. It's like magic, isn't it? And then also our chat monitor. And then today, Loretta, where are you once again coming in a pinch? Loretta, thank you so much for being our greeter. Let's give our front line. Now, traveling Mike today, I think we have Lynn, and then do we have anybody else? Okay, Joel, thank you so much for doing that. And then as I always mention, oh, perfect, Jessica, thank you. Public outreach, anything that's going on out there that we want to get out on Facebook, LinkedIn, what have you, please reach out to Kelly Bowers because she tries to keep us on the forefront out there in the public domain. So we're all famous in a small town. And last but not least, our Sergeant at Arms. There he is, Bob Bishop. Bob, thank you so much. Now, we had the big win last week. I think Gordon Jones won the money last week. So we're going to redo.
I mean, 2 weeks ago, sorry. Oh my goodness, 2 weeks ago. So we're going to do something a little different, maybe quarterly. So it gives you a chance to win some money because it took 6 months for the first one. Okay, so let's see, Mr. Youngsma, do we have any visitors? Visiting Rotarians or guests in Zoom land? We do not. Okay. How about in our room? Visiting Rotarians? Do we have any? Okay. Oh, and we have a banner presentation. Is this the only visiting Rotarian? So I'll let you go ahead. We have 2. All right. Actually,
Yeah. President Sheila and fellow Rotarians. Yeah. It's my pleasure to introduce 2 Rotarians, and the young lady wants to introduce herself. And they are from RI District 3150 and the Rotary Club called Global Champions Club 223263. They are from Hyderabad, India. And like him to say a few words and share the flag. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I am Lasa Priya Kotaru. Wish you all a happy new year. I am Paul Harris Fellow. I am studying 1st grade. Thank you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, all. Wish you all a very happy new year. We are at the beginning of the year. Our club is 2 years old. Rotary Global Champions, chartered in 2021. But myself and Susila, we are in Rotary since 2015. We started a new club, and we are all together 52 members. 34 are domestic from India, Hyderabad and other places, and 18 are NRIs. Out of 18, 14 are from USA, 1 from New Zealand, 1 from Singapore, 2 from Qatar. This is our structure, and gents are 32 and ladies are 20. Ladies are more than 60%. We want to equate the number very fast. And I will just give you a glimpse of important projects we have done in these 2 years. We have formed 30 Rotaract clubs in one go, which is a world record. 30 Rotaract clubs, and our district is awarded for that. World record award is given to the district governor. And importantly, we have given 4 medical commute vehicles. It is not exactly ambulance. Medical commute in tribal areas. We have supported 4 vehicles. Out of the cost of the $35,000, our club contributed $27,000. And in tribal areas, we have given to the ladies water wheels. Water wheels, you might be having an idea. Otherwise, I will just tell you 1 minute. Tribal areas, ladies will be carrying in a vessel water 10 liters from a long distance. And they have to go around a number of times to the water source and they have to bring it there. So to come out of the trouble, we have given the water drums of 45 liters capacity, which are just rolled on the floor. That we have given to the 4 tribal villages, which costed us $8,000. And government schools infrastructure we have provided, which costed us $8,000. And medical equipment we had given to the Ramakrishna Math, Hyderabad, which costed us $5,000. And for women empowerment, for the girls to commute to the school, and for the below poverty line women, sewing machines, and leaf plate These paper plates are there, leaf plate making machines. These things we have provided, which costed us $6,700. And more particularly, very importantly, cancer screening camps we have conducted, which are of the value of the $18,000. So approximately, we have done projects in these 2 years to a tune of $73,000. This is the list. And going forward, the purpose of our visit is, Linga Gaudu Garu, I have come to know of him. So we have, because your club is of some 80 years or 84 years old, and we are in the budding stage. Let us travel with you so that it would be of advantage. We can do more for the community development. Thank you for the opportunity given to me. This is brief about us, our club. Yeah. Flag exchange, there is, the theme was printed of as of last year.
There we go.
So let our bondage be retrospective
Yes.
of last year. You take.
All right, and you take the. Thank you very much. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right, thank you so very much. That is so impressive. What an amazing, amazing job you folks are doing. Rotary is very lucky to have you. Okay, guests of Rotarians today. I think Ron, we've got some back here. Okay, Dennis, go right ahead.
Sheila, fellow
Yes.
Rotarians, I'd like to introduce you to David Scheffler. David's been here before, and he thinks he wants to be a Rotarian with us.
Good choice. Good choice.
So welcome, David.
Thank you. Okay, yes.
Under extreme duress, I have brought my children, Stella and Gary, to come and visit, especially to hear our today's speaker. I thought it'd be really interesting.
Well, welcome you too. We're so glad you're here. And I got to share with you at the Christmas party, these two young people worked their little tails off and helped us, and we really appreciate that. Thank you so much. That was very gracious of you. Okay, Lance.
I'd like to introduce Rob, who is Ron Koopman's assistant today.
Well, Rob, welcome once again. All right. Okay, is that it for guests? Okay, so one quick thing. We have a crab feed meeting this Thursday at Bob Cowan's house. And you have a flyer on your desk or your table from Debbie, so please be sure. Bob, go ahead. Oop, tickets are on sale right now. Debbie can take your money. All right, thank you so much. Now we have coming up birthdays and anniversaries.
Everybody.
Sorry, I'm passing out order forms. So for the crab feed, if you want a table, I'll give you an order form. And that's how you will get reservations, and you do not have to pay me today. So anyway, birthdays. Okay, we've got a few birthdays. On January 1, we have Walt Thinfin. Raise your hand if you're here, please. So Trudy can give you something. Okay, Beth Wilson, January 6th. Loretta Caskey, did she leave? Nope, she didn't leave. January 8th, Loretta. Bob Bishop, January 11th. And oh my gosh, Lance Cavalieri, also January 11th. Tim Barry, is Tim here today? Oh, Tim, yeah, happy birthday, Tim. January 14th. Carol Howell, January 18th. I don't think Carol's here today. JR in the very back of the room, January 19th. And Ronnie Forbes. I haven't seen Ronnie Forbes for a while, but his birthday's January 27th. Anniversary time now. So Hank Shea, I don't think is here. Online, 56 years. Happy anniversary, Hank. And then we have a couple, Kathy and Pat Coyle, have been married 47 years. Congratulations. You're all so good. Oh, you sweetheart.
Okay, well, I didn't have my glasses. Somebody's phone went off back there. Who's the oh. Anyway, okay, well, I'll do a little further investigation. But I think we had one last 2 weeks ago. Well, I'll find someone to help me. Don't worry. Gordon is not here. Anyway, okay, so we'll suspend with the fines, and we're going to move along because we have an amazing program today. And I want to try and give this gentleman as much time as possible. So if you all don't mind, if we can proceed with the program. Okay, so Bill, would you like to introduce?
Our topic today will be developments in amateur astronomy. And what better person to do this than my friend Ross Gaunt. Ross is an avid stargazer and an amateur astronomer. He is a board member of the Tri-Valley Stargazers Club. His astronomy interests are things that include spectrography, bringing the amazing stuff of the night sky to anyone, from children to adults, on local star nights as part of the Stargazers outreach programs. If any of you ever have a chance to go to a night with stargazers, I highly recommend it. If you have grandkids or kids to bring, make sure they come, because actually seeing Saturn with its rings in real time is just an amazing sight for children who haven't seen it and realize it's actually there, because that's often what they'll say, is it's actually there. Ross is a retired computer scientist from LLNL who primarily worked in the visualization group. Since 2006, he's worked at the Livermore High School drama department in their theatrical play productions as the sound designer. He's done a wonderful job for Livermore High School. I know that from experience with that production. Basically, Ross loves to talk about astronomy, and he writes here, so don't get him started, but let's get him started. So Ross Gaunt. Otherwise, tell me.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you for inviting me to talk. And like Bill says, yeah, don't get me started on astronomy. So I entitled this Chasing Wonder, which is sort of a nod to the philosophy of having a portion of a life pursuing amazing things. And just every astronomer I know, that's what astronomy is to them. They're just going after these amazing things up in the sky, and it's just, there's no limit to what's out there. What are you looking at? That's Andromeda, which is great to look at through the telescope because you know, it's 2.3 million light years away, and you look at it and go like, I wonder if anybody's looking back at me. So it's been increased interest in astronomy pretty much since COVID, and it's continued on. And so it's become a $1 billion industry these days. And so is there any to take off the slide, the side guests? Yeah. Oops. No, it's there you go. Okay, we'll go back. Let's see, 4. So, yeah, so the question is, can you take pictures like this? And the answer is, of course, is yes. All you need is a PhD in cosmology, astrophysics, something like that, access to a world-class telescope, and you can do that no problem at all. But for the rest of us, we want to do something, something that's reasonable, affordable, and without getting a PhD. So there's basically 3 methods that you could just look up at the sky, right? Get a pair of binoculars. There's a lot of stuff that you can see just with binoculars. And of course, a telescope. And of course, there's 3 different types of telescopes. Actually, yeah, 3. Dobsonian, refractor, and reflector. And I always get mixed up saying refractor and reflector. So a refractor is a lens. A reflector is a mirror telescope. And there, of course, there's 2 different types of mounts that are kind of important. What you're seeing there is what we call polar mount. Pointer. So the base of the telescope, that thing that holds the telescope up, is actually aligned to the Earth's axis. And so it as Earth rotates, Earth is rotating underneath it, and the telescope stays still, basically what happens. And so that's only one motor. The difference, the other type is alt axis, yeah, alt azimuth, misspelled that. That is like these telescopes where it goes left and right and up and down. That's 2 motors running. Oops, that button. So this is what they sort of look like. The one on the left is a refractor, which is fine if it's large enough. Avoid the cheapy things you get from Kmart or Walmart. Those are trash, and they're what we call a hobby killer. But the primary reason is because they have plastic lenses and a tripod that's very hard to work with, and you use it once and you're done with it. The next is Dobsonian, which is a long tube, sort of invented by Isaac Newton. And then the other 2 over there are mirror telescopes. Well, a Dobsonian has a mirror at the bottom. The other 2, the same thing, because they just have a mirror at the top center, and so the focal length is folded in half, so it makes it like a reasonable thing to carry around. Oh, keep hitting the wrong button. There we go. So you look through those telescopes up in the sky, and you'll see things like this. The Orion Nebula, which is out there now. Oh, it keeps going back. Why does that happen? Okay. So the Orion Nebula, which we'll see a lot today. Globular clusters, which are basically leftover remnants of cores of galaxies that are orbiting around the Milky Way. And then we have the Andromeda galaxy, and that's kind of what it looks like. If you just look through a telescope, maybe a larger telescope, you start seeing a bit more of the stars and things. But mainly you'll see just the core of the galaxy. And for this reason, most astronomers then, or stargazers, go towards doing astrophotography. It's just, this is just kind of like, oh dear, not quite what I would thought. Now, some stars can be seen in color. A classic example is Alberio, where it's a binary star and there's a red and a blue one right together. It's really cool. So if you want to do astrophotography, this is all you need. Nothing to it. Couple parts here and there. So you got the mount, you got the telescope, you got the finder scope with the camera on it. They got the camera on the bottom of the telescope with a very precision focuser and a filter wheel, and that takes amazing photographs. And so it all takes dollars and lots of time, because you take your photographs, you put them in your laptop, and then you bring them home and spend hours doing photo processing on it. But tremendous results. And here's some examples from astronomers in our club. Yeah. And then this is just a shot from Andromeda using an 18-inch Dobsonian. Not bad. So how do they do that? What's so gone are the days of, you know, getting a piece of film and exposing it for 30 minutes to an hour or so. We no longer do that. We take a lot of short length pictures, short length being up to 5 minutes, probably nothing longer than that. And you take hundreds, tens, hundreds, thousands of them. You may take them over several nights. And then you bring them into your computer and what we call stacking them. Basically, you're adding the images together. And what that does is it takes out a lot of the noise and it brings the detail, right? Like that Andromeda picture you saw. That was thousands of images all stacked together and refined. Once you do that, then you're able to do some processing of it. PixInsight is one of the popular ones, and because that's specially built for astronomy. And so that's how you build those sort of images. That has a very large learning curve. It'll take you months just to learn how to use the telescope and astrophotography. I don't know if you ever quite finish learning how to do that. There's always more things. So what about, so here's a stacking example. So what this is Milky Way that I took a whole bunch of pictures of. So I just put in, just simply in Photoshop as an example, 20 shots that were exposure of 60 seconds. And you can see the difference between the short images and when they're all added together. So what has happened now is what we call smart telescopes. They're smart because they have a lot of things you want to do built inside the telescope. And the thing, of course, is the ease of use. I really encourage smart telescopes to people who just would like to get in astronomy without doing the learning curve, because it's so easy to use these things. In 10 minutes, you're doing astrophotography once you start. There's no eyepiece. You have, instead of the secondary mirror, is the guy at the top. So real quickly. So this tube, the light comes in here, hits a mirror, comes back, hits a mirror here, and then comes back out through the back. So instead of the secondary mirror, these smart telescopes have a camera, and that camera is connected to Wi-Fi, and that connects to your phone or tablet. And now you can control the thing completely off your phone or tablet, and all those pictures go onto your phone or tablet, and you're saved that way. Good resolution. The application, oh yeah, all the gear you need is your tripod, the telescope, phone and tablet, and a chair, because you just sit there in a chair and you run this thing. Or you can do it from in your house or in your car or, you know, whatever. The setup, you level the tripod, put the telescope onto the tripod, and you tell it to go. It will do it automatically figure out where it is in the sky. It looks at the sky and takes a picture and like, oh, that's where I'm at. It looks at its image library and says, okay, well, I got to move over here. It figures out where it's at automatically. Some will do automatic focusing. Others have come, like this one comes with a plate that you put on top to get very precise focusing. So 5 minutes, you are ready to start observing. On this telescope, the big one there, my 9-inch, it takes about 20 minutes to get it started, from power on to, I have to align to Polaris, and then I have to do align to 6 stars so that it knows where it's at. I put in the coordinates, our GPS coordinates, exact time and things like that. So it takes a while. So the smart telescopes eliminates all that. It does tracking of, so, you know, the Earth is rotating 15 degrees per second, or per hour, second. Woo. And so it does the tracking. If you're looking at a star, it keeps looking at it, so it keeps you in position. In fact, it's even comparing from previous, because it's adding the pictures as it goes. And so it's looking, take the current picture, see where it is, and it will adjust the image so that the stars will line up, because every telescope has a bit of tracking error, and this thing resolves that internally. And there's actually 3 different types of tracking. The tracking of the Earth rotation of objects in the sky. The moon moves at a different speed, and so does the sun. So you can track all those things easily, automatically. Like I said, displayed on your tablet, you can save that way. And then since it's Wi-Fi, other people can connect to your telescope and they can save the pictures themselves, which is really great at star parties when all the parents want to, you know, save, they go like, well, this is fantastic. And they get a picture of that to remember the star party. So the limit does have limitations, not everything, not everything is great. So it has a fixed focal length. It is the focal length that you get, that is, we'll get into what that's important. The difference is on my large telescope, I can change eyepieces to wide angle, magnified, and things like that. So I can do a lot of adjustments. This is fixed. And comparatively speaking, it's a low res camera. The resolution is about, best I've seen so far is 3.5K by 3.5K image, where, you know, that does 4K by 4K. And pretty much the state of the art these days is 12 megapixels by 8 megapixels per image. It's 100 megapixel images, current state of the art for amateur photography. Yeah, like I said, all azimuth mounts are more prone to error than just polar mounts, but that's okay because it takes care of it. Next. There we go. So here's some examples of just that Bill and I have taken off of the EV scope. This guy. That's the EV scope. These are not processed. This is just raw images that we got off the telescope. Couple more galaxies, planets, and that's Andromeda. So in comparing these different, I'm going to show you like 4 or 5 different types. And what's important is the feature things you want to worry about and comparing what to get for yourself if you're interested is field of view. Of course, that's the amount of area that you can, if you use cameras, of course, you know what field of view is, whether it's, you know, close up, zoomed in, or wide angle. That depends on what you can see. Now, I'm going to be talking a lot about arc minutes and arc seconds. So the sky is 360 degrees. We can see about 180 degrees or less. So there's a 1 degree is divided up into 60 minutes. Each minute is divided up into 60 seconds. Okay. To give you an example, the moon, a full moon, the size of the full moon is half a minute in size, 30 arc seconds. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Aperture, the amount of light that you bring into the telescope. And of course, that's one thing that astronomers pursue is the larger aperture fever. So a small aperture is like 50 millimeters. That's a 2-inch. Give you an example of what a 2-inch aperture looks like. Maybe not. There it is. That's 50 millimeters. So it's 2 inches in round. That's a pretty small aperture compared to my other aperture, which is, I forget. I have actually a picture of it. Anyway, so that's aperture is important. Sensor resolution, how much detail you can have. If you have a sensor that has low pixel amount, then you're going to lose a lot of detail. So those things are important. Like, state of the art is 11K by 8K. That's a lot of megapixels. You need a lot of storage for that. What else? Separating, resolving power. How close? What's the amount of separation in arc seconds between two stars? Stars are not exactly pin objects. And so what is the resolving power, which that shows you the amount of detail you can get in your telescope. Color depth, smaller color depth is, of course, not as much color, not as much resolution color. Amateurs, I keep saying amateur astronomers. What I should say is, I had a term, but I've forgotten it. So I'll say amateur astronomers would be the people that use the big telescopes, okay, the large telescope people. So we use 16-bit images, 12-bit, there's some of these telescopes do 12-bit images. 10-bit comes off too, and that's not bad. But the more bit depth, the more color you'll be able to get and more luminance data. And they'll come in different formats. Some of them do JPEG. That's very bad because you go all this trouble to get this image, and JPEG throws a lot of details away. It's a lossy compression. TIFF and FITS and PNG are uncompressed. Well, they may be compressed, but they're lossless. Every pixel is saved. So that's important. So here's the smart telescopes I'll talk about. The Unistellar EV scope, which is here. And then we'll have the Verstepa and the Stellina and the Dwarf. Okay. And so I'm going to go through I'm going to avoid a lot of statistics. So if you want, you can always Google all these statistics for yourself. But this has a 2K by 2K image, a focal length of 450 millimeters, good resolving power of 1.2 arc seconds. Field of view is, about size of the moon, half a degree. And it's expensive, right? It's $4,000. If you get on sale, they put on sale from time to time, about $3,000. To compare, that telescope, I purchased it in 2017 for 2K, and I just looked up the price. It's $3,000 these days. Okay, so here's the pros and cons of it. So it's very good for looking at deep sky objects. You'll get good detail, good images, like that galaxy I showed you. We'll do a comparison of field of view. It does a very good job of getting rid of light pollution. That's important. It's really hard to find a place these days away from all the lights. Since it's got a fixed focal length, planets are not very good in smart telescopes, and this one has the best of the planets. You can share it. You can put in filters. It's a little tricky to put filters in, but you can add a filter to it, 1.5-inch filter, which is pretty standard quality. And you could also, see, well, it's very detailed here, but you could actually manually put in the the coordinates of a star to go to. And sometimes that's important because, like Monday night, I wanted to go to a star that wasn't in the library, and I just put in the coordinates and went right to it. Yeah, so the cons are fixed focal length. A little tricky to put in filters, but you can do it. Currently, this model, the 12-bit images you can only get them, you have to send them first to Unistellar, and then you can get them, then Unistellar will say, okay, here it is, you can take it back. And they do that for the purpose of citizen science. Not all of them do that. In fact, this is the only one I think that does that. But you can get directly off of it PNG images, 10-bit PNGs were pretty good. And like I said, it's expensive. Here's the C star. You can see it's very small. Very small tripod. Two, standard high definition resolution sensor. Focal length 250 millimeters, pretty short. Aperture again is 50 millimeters, pretty small. And the field of view is pretty small compared to the Unistellar, but it's cheap. It's about $500. So it's a way to start, right? So let's see, that's C-star. It has built-in filters for you scientists out there. O3 and hydrogen alpha filter has a built-in solar filter. There's the nanometers that it likes to look at. It also can do video capture. Why you want to video capture a still object in the sky, I don't know, but it can do it. A 6-hour battery life, kind of medium length, low resolving power. These are the cons. Low resolving power, low sensor, small tripod, but you can put it onto a regular sized tripod, and that's a good thing to do because if you have this short tripod, then you got to, might kick it, bump into it, or your dog may come on and pee on it or something. Right, and the eyepiece, 50 millimeters, 2-inch filters can be kind of expensive, $150 or more, depending. Some are, depending on what it is, it may be $60, but they're much more expensive than the 1.25 inch eyepieces that you can put on, like the Unistellar. In fact, on my telescope, when I'm observing, my aperture can either be a 2-inch or 1.25. So filters work pretty good. Here's another one, the Dwarf 2. After Dwarf, there's 2 eyes after it. Reasonably good camera sensor. Focal length it has 2 lenses in it that you can switch. So you use the wide angle to go and figure out what you're looking at and go to what you want to see, and then use the telephoto to zoom in on what you want to look at. But that telephoto is only 100 millimeters, which for you photo buffs, that is a pretty standard lens, right? You could just do that with your own camera. Let's see. So very low resolving power, 5 arc seconds. Oh yeah, 3 degrees field of view. So that's twice the size of Andromeda. Size of Andromeda up in the sky, it's the size of 3 full moons. So, but it's inexpensive again. And if you buy it, you want to get the deluxe because you get the filters that you want and things like that. Pretty much I've talked a lot of these things, low resolving power, wide field of view. Okay, go next one. The Verstappa, it's, again, it's a high def, well, if you get the standard one is a high definition, standard HD camera. The new one that came out is a 3.5K by 3.5K. So that's a good, decent resolution. But again, the focal length is okay, but the aperture again is only 50 millimeters. So you're not letting in that much light. You can get 12-bit bits and TIFF images off of it. That's good. Sort of a medium range field of view. Again, it comes with a very short tripod. And it's getting up there and expensive, right? So the Pro is, $2,500. It does autofocus, has a good battery life of 11 hours. You can share with up to 8 people on Wi-Fi. Let's see. So again, I'll keep going back to this 50mm aperture. Yeah, you want to get the Pro to get the filters that you want to be able to use. And I'll show you the comparison of field of view. And again, it's a short tripod, so you want to put on a regular size tripod. Stellina is another one. This is one of the first ones that came out. So 6-megapixel sensor, 400mm focal length, but the aperture is 80mm. And I don't know of any filters that come in 80mm size, except for like camera filters, but camera filters are not designed for astronomy, for astrophotography. That's a really odd size. And it's the same price as the EV scope, which has a lot more features. So let's see, I probably covered all that, right? Oh yeah, the way to turn it off, you have to pull out the battery. Different. And it's very poor at imaging planets. Their planets are very small, and everybody likes to see the planets, especially Saturn. And look at the lines on Jupiter and be able to see the red spot in Jupiter and things. So planets are important. Okay, so I'm going to talk about resolving power, which is an important aspect. So I'm going to compare it. So here's just a comparison of the different resolving powers from bad to as good as it goes now. In comparison, that telescope, the resolving power is, 0.4 of an arc second. At the Astronomy Club, we have a 21-inch plane wave, which is a scientific instrument that, 0.2 of an arc second, separating power between two objects that you can see. Now, of course, again, the comparison, here's the Mount Palomar telescope, the Hale telescope, and that's a factor of 10 better than the plane wave. It was, side note, it was Edmund Halley looking at Andromeda, because the galaxies out there looked fuzzy until just these fuzzy things, and they didn't know what they were. Then the Palomar telescope comes along, and Hale looks at it and gets some photos of it. And it was the first time they were able to see that galaxies are composed of stars. So that was a big, big thing. He's also well noted for a lot of other things. So I'll have to come back and talk about those things. Field of view comparison. So the moon is 30 arc seconds in size. Andromeda is 1.5 arc seconds. So then here's the comparison. The EV scope will get the moon full screen, but it won't do all of Andromeda. But that's okay, because what you do is you do a matrix of images, and then you bring them into Photoshop or something and stitch them together, right? So the other ones, like the dwarf, you get the small images of Andromeda, and that's it. You can't stitch them together, right? So there compares field of view. So here's really what you'll see, the sort of image. So the box shows you what you'll see in the different telescopes, the size of the image captured. And so what we're looking at is the Orion Nebula, which is out these days. And the size of the Orion Nebula, the size of that is 30 light years by 40 light years in size. Chasing wonder, right? It's 1,500 light years away from us. So I mean, you can actually look up in the sky and spot it with your eyes. It's really amazing. So there's a comparison of the best and the worst of dwarf. Next. More field of view comparison. So these are the sort of the medium range things. The Sea Star does okay. You get the whole thing, but it's still not as good as the EV scope. I should get a commission for EV scopes. So here's a picture of the Orion Nebula that I took, and compared to the C star, that's just the full-size image from the two different scopes, the C star. This is a picture from the Dwarf 2 of Andromeda. And don't be fooled by that, the background being very gray colored, because what you do is you take, well, I'll just make it simple. Image processing, you can get rid of that and turn the sky black. So that's the difference in the comparison, field of view comparison. So another thing is, okay, just deep space objects is really where it's at. And so here's the unistellar of the Hamburger galaxy, 35 million light years away, pretty close. And so that's a really short exposure, only 9 minutes. And then in the dwarf, let's see, I don't know if you can spot that. Well, let's see, we'll walk over. So here is the Hamburger galaxy as seen through the dwarf. So there's your field of view comparison. So when you're looking, if you're looking to buy something and comparing image quality, and this is actually, I stole this off of a guy that had 4 of them together, and he was doing image quality and things, comparison. This is a YouTube video. And he did this comparison. Well, this is very misleading. First of all, he exposed this thing for an hour. Well, you saw the short image, and the one that I took of the nebula, and it was like 3 minutes, a 3-minute exposure. He exposed it for an hour with the EV scope. So that is just, he was like, oh no, it's out of focus, overblown out. Well, he didn't take the right picture. These other ones, okay, they're okay, but he enlarged them, right, to match the size of the EV scope. So you have to be careful when comparing images. Again, same thing with sun, that will come with solar filters, or you want to get a solar filter to see sunspots and things. And so this is the EV scope, good detail. And the other ones, of course, they had to blow up the image. You'll see some jaggies and things. And dwarf gets it in black and white, glorious black and white. So how do you get started? So you get your telescope. Now, what do you do? So one of the first things is to start looking at the Messier objects. It's a list of 110 objects out there. How much time do I have? 5 minutes. Okay, I'll give you a quick story about the Messier object. So Charles Messier is an astronomer back in the 1780s in Paris, and everybody was looking for comets like we are looking for exoplanets these days. You find a comet, you can name it after your wife, your girlfriend, or both. And so you see a comet, it's the way you detect a comet. You see a fuzzy thing in the sky. You come back the next day, next week, next month. If it's moved, then it's a comet. Now they looked at a lot of asteroids, but still they named it. If it didn't move in the sky, this fuzzy object didn't move in the sky, then it was not worth seeing. It's not a comet, so why look at it? It's just this fuzzy thing. So he made this list of 110 objects of things to avoid that he passed around to other astronomers. This list turns out to be pretty much the first 110 things that you really want to see in astronomy. It's just amazing stuff. Galaxies, nebulas, the ring nebulas, the Crab Nebula, open clusters, globular clusters. It's a great way to start of all these objects that you really shouldn't be looking at, according to Charles Messier. To know what to look at, get the applications. Stellarium, you can get on your phone, but I get it on my desktop or laptop because it has a lot of features on the desktop or computer rather than the phone. You can look at the night sky, see what objects are out there. You can go to any date you want, plus or minus 2,000 years, see what the sky looked like on your birth, or go 2,000 years ahead. You can also change locations of where you want to look at. Rather than the Earth, you can go to on Saturn, or you can go on to one of Jupiter's moons, or you can see from an asteroid or things like that. You can change what to see what the sky and what the solar system looks like from different locations, and that's a lot of fun. So Stellarium is a must-have thing, and it's free. Just download it, and that way you'll know what you want to look at that night, and then you're not spending any time sort of searching around. The other thing you do is invite me back, and I'll give you my talk on Kickstart to Astronomy, or I can talk about weird things about the solar system. Or you could also join the Tri-Valley Stargazers. We have monthly meetings the third Friday of every month. And the other thing, we have lectures and meetings, lectures like this. And we also have access to dark sites, a place in Del Valle behind the gate at night, away from cars and things, and it's a safe location. And we also have a dark location way up in Mines Road, and you have to join the club to find out where that location is. Okay. Any questions? Oh, forgot one thing. Happy Perihelion Day. Today is the day in which the Earth is the farthest away from the sun. So happy Perihelion. And if you're a photographer with a camera like Don, you can get these sort of things because, we're always moving 15 degrees per hour. So if you just put your camera on a tripod, the best you can get is like a 30 or a minute long exposure before you start getting star trails. You get these little motorized guys that are put on a tripod. You put your camera on here and it will track the stars. So even with your regular camera, you can take long exposures. Okay. Now,
Yeah, if you're aiming at the sky, as far as focusing, what's going on with focus and depth of field? As a photographer, I don't understand. If you're looking at infinity, presumably everything's pretty much the same.
The thing is, temperature affects the focus of the telescope, right? So you got a fixed focal length. And so you want to, each night you want to focus it to get as sharp, pin sharp objects as you can. And the EV scopes come with this thing called a Bahtinov filter, a Bahtinov mask. And what this does, this is designed by a Russian physicist. It puts a pattern. I don't know if you can see. It puts an X in the middle of your viewfinder, your view, or your camera. And then there's a line that will move up and down through the X. And what you do is to focus it, you get the line right in the middle of the X and you're in perfect focus. So, yeah. No, you're just trying to get the best image quality you can going to the sensor.
So you talk about filters like you use for a camera. Is there any way to do a software filter or some sort of digital filter for wavelengths? Thank you.
Coming in the sensor, you get all wavelengths coming at the same time, right? And so one thing we filter is like the planets, like Jupiter. And so the Jupiter, all the wavelengths come in the same time. Now you can, in the software, you can increase or decrease colors, red, greens, blues, and various colors like that. You can do that. If you use Photoshop, you probably know about how to change channels, but that's pretty limited. And it's nice to bring in what you want to see coming into it. So this is a filter that's used for Jupiter to bring in the stripes much better. The other thing is I have a solar camera that has a hydrogen alpha filter in front of it, in which allows me to bring in just the wave band of the hydrogen alpha frequency, which is that allows you on the sun to actually see the prominences on the edge of the sun. So that's why you want to have the filter coming in.
Thank you.
Oh, one other thing I just thought about is, again, filters is because you want to filter out things like urban lights, is like sodium filter, sodium lights. And so that's this very specific frequency you want to filter out that you can't do in Photoshop or things like that. So that's another reason.
All righty. Well, I want to thank you so much on behalf of our club. And I have a little parting gift for you from JMC Sellers, one of our very own Rotarians. She's so graciously donated some wine, and we'd like to thank you for your presentation. Let's give him another big round of applause. Thank you. Yes, you can share it with your friends. All right. Two quick things, ladies and gentlemen. There is a sign-up sheet going around for the Spur Reporter. Please, if you wouldn't mind signing up, that's for the rest of the year. And number two, the wine we all enjoyed today, that's from our friends at Darcy Kent. And if you notice on the bottle, the label, it's a personalized label. We worked with them. I'm on the Livermore Rodeo Board, and they have kind of done some beautiful work there. The picture of the cowboy on the horse actually is my uncle. They did a custom label for us. So again, thank you so much. Next week, we will be here once again. It will be, did I hear a phone? I'm keeping a tall Paul. You know, is that Mike? So I'm going to come up with a program for your brother. I am going to come up for, anyway, next week is the, grants. We will be in the big room next week, same place, big room. So please join us there. And again, thank you all so very much. It was a delightful day. And I guess ring, ring, we're done. Ring, ring, we're ding, ding, we're done. Thank you.